On today's Lakeshore Focus, we have a guy who always has something interesting to say. He's the Sheriff of Porter County, Indiana, Dave Reynolds. Stay with us. Welcome again to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting the key issues, important events, and interesting people in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. I'm a fan of those old Western movies that many of us watched as kids. Didn't you love the line, "There's a new sheriff in town"? Back then, a sheriff stood for law and order, courage and toughness, wisdom and integrity. Real life is not like the movies, and sometimes a law enforcement official does not match those standards, but on today's show, we have one of these sheriffs who matches the previous description, or at least he tries to live up to it. Let's welcome Dave Reynolds, the Sheriff of Porter County, Indiana.
Thank you, Keith.
Glad to have you on the show.
Right. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah. So this is kind of your second time around as being sheriff. You were sheriff for 8 years.
Yes.
And then you took a break?
Took a break for 8 years, worked for a private consultant for primarily U.S. Steel, and kind of got talked back into running again. Didn't think I was going to, but I'm really glad I did, and I'm glad to be back. So this is my third term.
So what was it like when you kind of made the decision to jump back in? Because I know you had kind of said, probably not going to do it again, but what'd they say to talk you into it?
Well, it was the first time I was the police chief from Portage when I ran, and it was a lot different. And you know, times change, and most of the officers on the department I had hired and was very familiar with, so they were contacting me. So I think that had a lot to do with my decision, that they actually wanted me to come back. And but it was a big decision. You know, you have to talk to your family and talk to all of your people around you and try to make the right decision for everyone concerned. But after I made the decision, you know, being the sheriff is difficult, but the actual process of getting there is something that people overlook. Just the election process it's taxing, and it really impacts your whole family and everyone around you, and you need help.
Yeah. Well, you had such a good reputation. I think first time around that probably helped a whole lot when it came back to the second time. So maybe some of the taxpayers might want to know: was there any savings at all? I mean, were you able to use the same uniforms or same business cards or anything?
Not too much. I think I did have some of the old uniforms, but it was pretty much start from scratch.
I just thought about that today. I thought, I wonder if there was anything that was still laying around left over from the previous regime. So it's kind of interesting. So how different does it feel today in this role versus 10 years ago?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing I've seen is the impact of drugs that have had it not only in our society but in the police department. We've always had a drug issue. I think people are starting to understand that most crime is directly associated with drug abuse, and it's always been that way. I mean, I first became got in law enforcement in the early 70s and worked in a drug unit. So it was a problem even back then, but I don't think it impacted how we do our job, how everybody does our job, and how it affects the day-to-day living. Most of the crimes what you see in the paper, if you just look in the paper, all your thefts, your burglaries, your armed robberies, almost everything is directly associated to substance abuse. And I think that's changed quite a bit from the last time.
I want to make sure I clarify something, because it sounded almost like you have an internal drug problem at the police station.
No, but it's what we do. Our law enforcement, our guys every day, you know, they work traffic. But outside of traffic, the calls that they respond to, their job is directly related to substance abuse.
It's just had a big impact
without question
on what they do. So are you saying the drug problem is significantly worse than 10 years ago?
Without question.
Okay, I mean, give us some. Is it twice as bad, 3 times as bad?
I would say it's I don't know what kind of numbers you can put on it, but I would say it's 10, 20, I mean, it's not even close. And the big reason is the impact of heroin. We had heroin back, in the 70s and 80s and the 90s. Even when I was first elected, it was a problem, but it's off the charts now, because we have young adults throughout our whole county going to Chicago every day buying heroin. And really what the game changer has been about 2 years ago is the emergence of fentanyl. And fentanyl is a synthetic opium that they use for a cutting agent with the heroin. And why that's so significant is fentanyl is 50 to 75 times stronger than pure heroin. So that is the reason we're having all our overdoses. And so it's really impacted everything.
Is it also cheaper to buy now?
Oh, without question. It's cheaper and it's stronger. Just to give you an idea, when I was working undercover buying heroin as an undercover agent, the percentage of heroin back then in the early 70s and the early 80s was 6 to 7% pure. So that's 94% that wasn't heroin. It was just a cutting agent. Now for the same amount of money, 30 years later, it's 75 to 95% pure, but they're cutting it with fentanyl. So that's not even, that's why consequently we're having so many overdoses. We never had the overdoses back then that we have now. And it's largely attributed to the fact that of the fentanyl. And they're actually selling pure fentanyl. So there's no question, there's the reason why people are overdosing.
So how have you changed what the officers do, or how do the officers deal with this differently, or how's your leadership shaped what you have to do today?
That's an excellent question.
I'm trying to ask good ones.
What we've done, because we knew we have to do something different, and what we created was a HORT team, a heroin overdose response team. So it's HORT. And those are police officers. Those aren't undercover officers. They're not detectives. They're police officers. Because now everyone has naloxone, that's the agent that they carry with them to try to use at an overdose scene. So they can use that and administer that to the victim that's overdosed to try to bring them back. But if they bring them back, what we've changed is that there's a lot of departments now. Everyone's changing their philosophy on how to deal with this. But the theory was a lot of departments looked at an overdose as a medical condition. Well, somebody's overdosed. So they would call an ambulance, bring them out, take them to the hospital, and that's it. They would maybe make a short report. Well, now we're investigating it as a crime scene. Because if the person overdosed on heroin, we are now, and if we revive them and bring them back, we interview them and we try to get information before they're actually taken to the hospital. Or if they're at the hospital, the officers go to the hospital and then basically investigate that case as a crime scene.
So what's the crime?
Well, the crime is that they had heroin, and they've used the heroin, which is illegal, and the heroin's in their system, or they have the needle. In most cases, the needle's right there, so the heroin's in the needle, so you have possession of needles, which is illegal, and oftentimes you have drugs present, so we get search warrants, and we search the house, or however, whatever needs to be done at the scene. So that's what's changed, and now we try to get that information. The whole objective here is trying to identify the dealers that these people are using in Porter County, the users. We're not really focused on the users so much of arresting them. We're trying to use the users, the information that they may provide, to try to find out where their source is. And it's a difficult process. I mean, it's not easy because the dealers are not in Porter County.
Right.
A lot of them are in Lake County, but most of them are in Chicago. So what do? In the past, we just said, well, they're in Chicago, there's nothing we can do. But what we've done now is that we've assigned an officer from our department to work with the strike force with DEA in Chicago. So now we're trying to cut off the head, not the tail. Because I think in the past, the drug units were more focused on numbers. And the average person like yourself, if I told you, hey, we arrested 500 people last year, or maybe I told you we arrested 250 people, what does that actually mean? You wouldn't know, and I don't know what that means either. But if I told you, hey, we're identifying the dealers in Chicago on the south side and southwest side of Chicago, and we're trying to make a difference by cutting off the head. And a lot of these major dealers are in Lake County. Well, what we've done now is, because of the Hort team and the intelligence that we're getting, we're working together now, which was never been done before, with all the undercover agents working together. And it's been very effective.
Let me probe a little deeper on this, because I mean, we're talking about the supplies there. It's cheap to buy, and I mean, and obviously people get addicted to these kind of things. But for a lot of crime and just things you have to deal, how do you see what's the root of some of these problems in our society? I mean,
what causes it all?
Yeah, this is kind of the result, of things going on. I mean, why are these specific people using drugs? Why do they turn to this? Why do they turn to crime?
Well, I think that's a good question. I don't know if it has a very simple answer to it.
It probably doesn't have a simple answer.
Our approach to the problem is law enforcement, which I've explained what we're doing. Second thing is that we've really increased our because I am the sheriff and I oversee this jail. We've increased our programs, our treatment programs in a jail. We've got more programs in our jail than any jail in the state, maybe in the Midwest. We've just introduced a program called a Vivitrol program. So when you're an addict and you're being released, with the court order and everyone agreeing to it, the probation pact, public defenders, they can be administered a shot that blocks the craving for the opiate. And so we've started that about 2 weeks ago, and we're encouraged with that, trying to, because basically what that does is it's going to mandate these people leaving our jail to seek treatment. And if they don't seek treatment through the Vivitrol program with the mental health facility, then they're going to come back to jail. So our ultimate goal there is trying to, when they get out, and we tell them this, our goal is for you not to come back. And because if they don't come back and they don't commit crimes, we're all safer. And so that's the second thing. But the answer, I think getting closer to the answer, is what we think is, we think treatment's very important. I believe that, but it's not the answer. Law enforcement is very important, obviously, but it's not the answer. We can't arrest ourselves out of this problem. But the answer is, what causes it? How do we turn it around? It's an education and prevention. So what do you do with that? What we've done is we created a video, and we have the inmates in the video. It's heroin. It's not a problem. It's an epidemic. And we've now produced our second video, which will be out in about 2 weeks. And our purpose there is to reach the 5th graders on up. Yeah, all high school. Parents, we're focusing this time a little bit more on parents and grandparents, so they can be accountable and somewhat take some responsibility to the problem. Because when we interview all these inmates in their graduations, we're seeing that when they were first introduced to drugs, it wasn't like people think of these drug parties. Most of these inmates say that they were first introduced to drugs from their family, their parents. So that's a problem. How do you turn that around?
So you got to get back into the. I think it's really interesting how you analyze this, because if you really look at it, law enforcement is a response to this problem. It's like it's kind of at the end of it, like we got to do something about this, and the treatment is trying to get a person back kind of to square one. But you're saying the root is to really go back to educate people and to try to. So you must be doing some things in the schools then more.
Without question, we're taking this video because we believe it's not totally responsible, the reason for it, but there's a breakdown in the families. A lot of these people that are involved in drugs, and don't get me wrong, there's some addicts that have come from great families. They've given them everything. Maybe they gave them too much. And maybe there's no answer. Why certain kids go one way, and there's some kids from bad families that turn out really good.
Can you really get to the families? I mean,
well, I think what we try to do is when we show the video, we're trying to get to these kids. I really don't think we can. I think what we have to do is that we have to empower these 5th graders, 6th graders, that you're going to have to make decisions, the right decisions. And even though you're exposed to it, maybe from family, friends, to temptations or whatever, that you're going to have to make the right decision. And it's tough, you know. It's tough that you have that. It happens that way.
Well, what's kind of the content a little bit of the video? Because I think some of the research says the scared straight thing doesn't really quite work. Just to scare young people to death doesn't really work. So what is the video saying, or what's the message it's saying?
It's interesting you said that, because when we first did the video and we just were producing it, we didn't know how to classify it. Is this a scared straight video, or I was at actually a conference, and they came out and said the same thing. Boot camps don't work, scared straight doesn't work. And I'm thinking, gee, we just spent a lot of time and effort in this video.
For years, right?
And we showed them the video, and they go, well, this isn't really a scared straight video. What this is an educational reality video. Because what we've done on the first video is we interviewed a few parents who have lost their loved ones, and they give their story. And then we interviewed about 15 or 20 inmates. Some of them gave their stories. Some just said, hey, I'm John, I'm Doe, and I'm 16 years old. I was 16 years old when I tried heroin. I live in Portage. I live in Hebron. I live in Couts. And what we were trying to do, and these guys were all in jail. So what we tried to do is impress upon the viewer that all of these guys and girls that were in jail all came from Porter County, all from different parts of the county, and they're all in our jail because they made bad decisions. So at some point in time, you're going to have to make the right decision. Then the second video, we've re-interviewed most of the people that were in the first video. Got a few more different families. You can make an argument that it's kind of scared straight. We threw a few more photographs in of people that have overdosed. But my opinion is that I'm trying to make an impression on a 5th grader, a junior high student.
So how do you get these into the schools then?
Oh, they invite us in.
The schools are very receptive to doing this.
Every school.
Does an officer go with this to present?
I do most of them. The coroner, right now, Chuck Harris, that he goes to. We have our public information officer has done it. I mean, if they call, it could be like with Valparaiso school system. I came in and did every 7th grader and every 8th grader. So all the 7th graders came in.
They all know who you are now, right?
Showed them the video, showed them, and you know, there was a lot of discussion on, well, 5th grade might be too young. So what we did was we started with 8th grade. We started high school. Good response. High school didn't have a lot of response, but 8th grade talked a lot. It was better. 7th grade was better than with the 8th. As we got younger, it got better, I thought. And when we got down to the 6th and 5th graders, they were you could tell it was making an impact on them. And I think it's not the panacea, and I don't think it's the answer, but I think it was done because we talked to those kids, those students, those young adults, just like I would if I was talking to their parents. And I think if you talk to them like adults and you tell them that this is a problem we have in our society today that you need to understand, you're going to see this. Somebody's going to approach you and offer you some drugs. And then when they see it in the video, when we're at one particular school, and I'll say, do you remember that second guy? He sat in the same gym. He's from this school. He sat in the same gym, and he got good grades when he was in 7th and 8th grade. And look where he's at now.
That makes a huge impact on people.
And they listened.
Yeah, let me ask you, you know, the sheriff's position as an elected official is really a very powerful position. What do you feel like is the most important aspect of your job? The couple things like, as a sheriff, my duty or my big part of my job is to do what?
I think it's to be available. I think it's to be responsive to whatever county. If you ask, there's 92 counties, 92 sheriffs. Every sheriff has probably their own issues and own different challenges and different problems. And Porter County has, you know, we have our own too. And I think I think just by being asked to be on a show, I think it's my responsibility to come and explain to not only the constituents, but the people in your county or surrounding counties of what we're doing and how we're trying to challenge, dealing with our challenges. And I think it's important. I mean, if you just sat in your office and kind of thought you moved papers around every day and you really didn't get out in the community, I think you're doing yourself a disservice to the people that elected you.
How often are you in your office?
Sounds
like you're out a lot.
I'm out a lot, but it's busy. And but I'm not a micromanager. I mean, I've kind of been at this for a long time, and you just have a different style. And I believe that you point people, put people in their positions, and allow them to do their job. And if they have a situation, a question, or problems come up, then that's when they're supposed to get a hold of you. And I think that's why we work as well as we do, because as a sheriff, people need to understand I'm in charge of the jail, so I have a tremendous staff. I'm also have a police department, but I'm also in charge of the courts too. And so you have officers in the courts, and my job is to protect the courts and the judges, and so I need to make sure I have people in those right spots.
Sheriff is a big job. There's no doubt about it. That's why I was kind of curious what was kind of at the top of the list, because I know the list is very long for what you're doing. We're down to a couple minutes, and I guess in the last couple minutes, what do you feel like, besides what we've already talked about, you've really had an impact on? Your leadership has had an impact in doing something you're kind of proud of?
Well, I'm really proud of how we're tackling the opiate problem, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to say it briefly. We've really, this is my third time around, and one of the things I really wanted to work on was school safety, and we've developed a one county, one protocol right now. So we've got all 77 schools, public and private, even daycare centers, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, all on the same protocol on how to deal with an emergent situation, primarily an active shooter. And so I'm really proud of that. We actually created a video on that. Anybody can go onto our website and just put in active shooter, Porter County, and you'll see the video. And we use that as an educational tool. We are, on October 26th, we're going to do a tabletop with all first responders and educators. We're going to have a scenario, because I'm really proud of the fact that we've got everybody working together, with our ultimate goal of keeping our kids in school safe. Because I believe that kids should go to school and learn, and they shouldn't have to worry about all of the bad things that are happening. And unfortunately, when you have problems, drug problems or domestic violence problems that you mentioned earlier, everybody thinks it's the responsibility of the teachers. But the teachers are supposed to teach. I think we all need to, as a community, need to take part of what the problems are.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your leadership, and I'll tell you, I live in Porter County, so I feel safe knowing that you're our sheriff.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you came to the show and shared your thoughts. So.
Well, thank you. Thanks for asking me to be here today.
You bet. Thanks, Dave. Most people will not face the tough issues. The incredibly complex and weighty real issues reside several levels below the surface of what seem to be the apparent problems. If you ask average citizens to describe the problems in their communities, you would hear about bad roads, drug abuse, crime, inadequate schools, few jobs, and taxes. If you ask them to go deeper, you might have mentions of poverty, racism, homelessness, domestic violence, and hunger. Broadening the spectrum, they would most likely add climate change, immigration, unfair trade, terrorism, and politics. These lists, which I just presented, are the results of deeper and more complicated issues. To probe to the necessary depths, you must thoroughly analyze why. Why does racism continue to plague our society? Why do terrorists exist? Why are people violent, addicted, or abusive? Digging deeply into the roots of problems is what most people will not do. It is so much easier to respond with quick solutions. Crime? More police. Hunger? Feed them. High taxes? Lower them. Racism? Be nicer. Homelessness? Build a shelter. Terrorism? Destroy them. Immigration? Deport them. Politics? Well, there's no simple answer with that one. All of these challenges are quite complex and require more than a simple solution. It seems as if we have the answers, but have we truly addressed the causes of our problems? No. That takes a lot of work, and few are willing to drill down to truly understand why we have these problems. I sincerely admire and appreciate those who will ask the difficult questions and search to find the deeper causes. It is so easy to toss an answer to the crowd and propose simple solutions. History will demonstrate to you time after time that a bandage protects the wound but does not heal it. Appeasement satisfies some for a while. It's not a long-term solution. Throwing money at it usually accomplishes little. Force usually begets a forceful response. It takes time, patience, determination, courage, leadership, and resources to truly tackle the complex issues. If someone tells you they have a simple answer, realize that you are probably talking to someone who will not face the tough issues. Thanks for watching. We appreciate every time you turn on Lakeshore PBS and view one of our shows. Your comments about any of our interviews on Lakeshore Focus are helpful to us. You can send your thoughts through the website or via email, both listed on your screen right now. If you can't find a previously aired show on our website for some reason, go to YouTube, type Lakeshore Focus, and perhaps the name of the guest or topic you want to watch, and there it is. Be sure and join us again next week for another Lakeshore Focus. Until then, I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.